Have you ever felt like you were lost on your path, or the path that you were on that felt really right all of a sudden disappeared? Someone asked me this question, and I love this question because we have all been there. I have been there a few times in my life where I am on a path that I heard a calling for. I my whole heart was in this path. I knew it, and then all of a sudden it feels like it disappears. It feels like it's not there anymore. It gets really murky. I feel like I'm in the wilderness, I'm in the dark. And as I started to contemplate this question, I realized that there's really a lot of metaphors and a lot of teachings that talk about this space, this idea of kind of being in the wilderness and being in isolation or being in this place where we tend to feel like we're disoriented in our navigation and trying to understand the path that we were on that was so clear now all of a sudden doesn't look as clear anymore. So imagine when you started to learn how to drive or ride a bike or any sort of vehicle. And if you haven't, imagine someone that has. And in that process, when you're learning, usually you're going to start out with really good conditions. You're learning how to drive a car. You're going to learn on a bright sunny day. You're probably going to drive when there's no traffic or hardly any. You're going to drive on a very straight road, and you're going to be able to see ahead miles in front of you. And you're going to be able to see all of the signs ahead. And it's going to be easy. You're going to be in easy mode. And then you're going to practice and you're going to practice and you're going to get really used to it. And then over time, as you get more advanced, you're going to start to learn how to drive at night, how to drive when the conditions are different, when it's raining, when there might be snow on the road or ice, or there might be fog, or you might have to go up a windy mountain road and you don't know how the turns are going to be. And then you have to navigate other drivers on the road, not just yourself. And then you also have to navigate not only the conditions of the car, you're going to have to learn how to navigate the car itself, how to maintain it, how to fix things, how does the car work, how do we shift it into different gears, how do we make sure that there's oil in it, that the engine runs properly. And then we're also going to have to understand how best we need to be when we're behind the vehicle, when we're behind the wheel in the vehicle. It's not safe to be sleepy. We want to make sure that we are alert and we are paying full attention and we're not distracted so that we're operating in full function. So we've got these layers of how are we operating within ourselves? How are we operating the vehicle itself? And then how are we navigating the conditions within? And so when I thought about this question, and I always assess life to journeys and paths, it seemed really clear that when we're hitting this level, this part in our road, in our path, and it can happen multiple times, where it feels like we're in the wilderness, we're in the dark. And I've really come to learn that this is the graduate study level that you're in because you've been in easy mode. You understand how to operate yourself in really easy conditions. And whether you put yourself there or circumstances have just guided you to this space, either way, it is what it is. You're there. And I think the goal of this is now to really go within. And you'll see this repeated in lots of different texts and a lot of stories as well. It's sort of this like rock bottom, this lull, this way in which we have to learn how to navigate in the dark. And we have only ourselves to rely on. And this is the moment where we have to hone in, fine tune, and expand all of our navigational systems within. So our instincts have to be sharper, our intuition has to be sharper, our heart center has to be way open, and we have to learn how to blindly go through when we don't think that the path is there, but the path is there. And all these different analogies are starting to come up of, navigation and moving through. And if you were to ever be driven by anybody, like let's say you take an Uber somewhere and the driver gets lost, the driver's not going to sit there, especially because you've exchanged money and there's a certain destination that you're headed to. But the driver's going to figure out which way to go, whether it's making a U-turn, trying to find a different path, trying to figure out what it is. But sometimes when it's us with us and there's no one to make us accountable for certain moves, it's easy to just stall out and just stand there. But that's not how nature works. And we are absolutely a part of nature. We're made up of the same elements as the sun, the moon, the stars, earth, all of it together. And we're constantly in motion. We're constantly regenerating ourselves. We're constantly growing. We're constantly moving. And so it's in our nature to keep going and to figure things out. And sometimes when the path feels like it's dissolved or it's disappeared, I think that's really a way to reframe the situation to say you're really hitting your expert level. And now you can decide, because this is my belief is that you're always in the creator mode. So you can look at a situation in any which way you'd like, whether this is a problem or this is just an experience to a solution. I'm going to go with the solution-based one where we reframe this and we can look at this and see, this is my graduate study. This is now me having to learn how to maneuver and navigate at an expert level through my wilderness. And this is where I connect with something higher. This is where I connect with myself. This is where I learn self-trust, self-love, my intuition. And I can start to figure out and decide, is the path really not there? Or has it shifted? Or do I need to look at it with different eyes? Do I need to find a new path? Do I need to make a new path? I'm now at an expert advanced level, and I'm going to be able to navigate through this as I so choose. I was at dinner last night with a friend who is studying to be a pilot. And so we were going through different scenarios of what it would take a pilot to learn how to fly. And if any of you have flown in any sort of commercial airline, you would hope, you would expect, not even hope, you would expect that the pilot is well trained for any situation. And so it was really the same kind of conversation. You start out really easy, you do really short flights, and then you extend the flights even longer. You learn how to take off and you learn how to land. You learn how to fly over busy cities and you learn how to fly over water. And then you increase to learning how to fly at night, learning how to fly even longer distances cross country. And so we were going through scenarios. I was like, what if the engine catches on fire? What do you do? Do you like eject out of the aircraft? And he was like, no, 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 there's definitely ways for that. Turn the you turn the wheel. I'm not a pilot. You turn the wheel and the air will move around the engine and it'll diffuse the fire. It'll diffuse the fire. And so that'll take the fire out. So no problem. And then you can tilt up the plane. And I was like, what if the engine cuts out? There was a process for that. And this is how shift the different gears, turn the different knobs, and you can figure out how to land the plane. Don't worry, I'm never going to fly a plane. But it was just really interesting that there's all these scenarios, and he really wanted to practice as much as possible with his flight instructor, especially like turning off the engine just to see if he could maneuver through, as well as really practice taking off and landing. And if you've flown, when like a pilot knows how to land a plane well and when they don't. So I was like really excited that he was learning all of that. And it was just the same thing of over time, we want to learn how to maneuver through as many different situations as possible. And a lot of times we can do the external pieces. It's really easy to understand elements of it. And also he had to learn all of the different pieces of the plane itself, how to fix it, how it works, all the controls. And then he also had to make sure that he was in a good state as he's flying the plane. So it's these layers that we're all going through. And this is such a great example for life. When we're on our path, we're always on a path. And I used to really have a hard time with that when I was feeling low and I was feeling lost. And it was like, yesterday it was bright and sunny and I knew exactly what I wanted to do and where it was going. And now today it doesn't feel that same way. or things feel a little murky or a little cloudy or a little nebulous. And this is the call to really go in and understand yourself, understand what you need, and understand how do I navigate when conditions aren't as optimal as they were before? How do I move through it and get through it? There's always going to be a solution and an option to reframe where you're at, as long as you're willing to do so and move yourself through the darkness, through the wilderness. This is what the Old Testament is about. They spent 40 years in the desert trying to find their way through. And this is where all of those old teachings come from in that specific book. A lot of people also make pilgrimages, and it's a metaphor for how do we kind of go outside of our comfort zone so that we're really going within, and we're pushing ourselves out into experiences that we're not used to test ourselves. And this is really how we're doing self-development work instead of self-improvement. There's nothing, it's a nuanced way to look at it. It's not necessarily improving, but it's developing. You're the main character of your life. So how are you developing that character? And if it's always in the same scenarios and always in the same way, there's a plateau that's going to happen. That's how we get stale with life. But if we can figure out and reframe something that feels like a path has disappeared, maybe it's run its course. Maybe the path is kind of complete and it's time to turn and it's time to look at a different direction to go in. And I've never not had anything, even if it felt like I was lost or meandering or kind of wandering around looking, it all ended up playing a part in some like extra puzzle piece I picked up down the road. But I don't know that until I allow myself and release the resistance and just move forward with it and just put on a really childlike, adventurous perspective to just see where this is going to take me. And we build that self-trust of I'm going to go wherever I need to go. And if I'm standing in the dark, I know I can start to figure out how to turn that pilot light on inside, that internal flame inside, and really start to navigate. That's a call to navigate yourself into this next chapter, into a next book of your life, so that you're in this like expert advanced level of how you're going to live. So reframe it if you'd like as an opportunity to like level up. This is that dark before the dawn sort of feel. And there's always a path. You're always on the path. You're always growing and changing. It's just how much aware of it you are. Maybe you're not at the moment, and that's okay too. You will take the time you need to develop the way you need to develop. If it takes 10 minutes or 10 years, it's okay. It's up to you. You get to decide how long you want to be on that path, how long you want to be on that journey that is best for you. Everyone is on their different and their own timetables. There's no need, there's no benefit in shaming any part of it. You learn what you need to learn, you learn it as many times as you need to learn it, and you keep moving forward with it. So if you feel like you were on the right path and that path disappeared, maybe reframe that to think maybe I'm just on a more expert level path than I was before. And I'm actually fine tuning my own internal navigational system in all its capacity, not just intuition, but instincts, heart center, and all of the chakras need to open up so that I am fully functioning and aware. And this is that expert level because I've done so much work prior to this. And I'm really having to go within with myself, with something higher, and to navigate in a whole new way because there will be light at the end of that tunnel. There will be dawn after the darkness. And it's up to us how long we want to stay there. And if you take time and if you need the time to stay there longer because you need to get more out of it, so be it. Just don't belittle yourself or shame yourself for the place that you're in. It doesn't, not going to help you get what you need. It's going to prolong what you need. It's going to add more resistance to the things that you need to understand about yourself, to learn about the situation, and just accept it and ease into it. And you might be surprised that if you really did want something to change or show up for you, or appear, that it can be quite quickly because you've just accepted something that just is. So I hope this was beneficial. This was a wonderful experience for me to look at and to think about. I love all of your comments. So if there's any questions or any thoughts that we could explore as a topic, I'd love to hear from them. Thank you for being here. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.